Stop. Before you cross midnight, listen carefully. The turn of the year is not just a calendar, it is a spiritual threshold. And at this threshold, choices become louder, as if the invisible amplified every word you utter. If you arrived here, it was not by chance. There are things you call detail, but in the spiritual world they turn into a door. And today, Archangel Michael urgently warns you. There are common errors repeated by millions that push away health and prosperity without the person realizing it. You might even feel that nothing changes, that every year is the same. But Miguel sees from another angle. He sees the root, the exact moment you give permission with your mouth, with your heart, with your home. He sees when you enter the turn of the year carrying phrases, resentments, empty promises, wrong people, and a house with breaches. And when you call that normal, the enemy calls it access. Therefore, pay attention. This message is a warning and a map. I will reveal 5 errors to you. And I need you to stay until the end, because the 5th is the most dangerous. It doesn't attack you just for an instant. It lives with you, settles in your environment, and works while you sleep. Many people take care of their faith, pray, ask for blessings, and still lose health and prosperity because they maintain this 5th error as if it were just a way of living. Today, Miguel wants to cut this at the root. Here are the 5 errors, with names you will keep like a war list. The mouth that prophecies fall, negativity disguised as prudence. The heart with stones, resentment crossing the threshold. Promise without altar, noise without first fruits, intention without reparation. Keys in the wrong hands, giving access to people who drain, expose, and sabotage. House with open doors, breaches within the home treated as normal. If you recognize one of these in yourself, don't blame yourself, take a stand. Before we enter into each one, imagine Miguel in his portal, not as a beautiful adjective, but as an event. He is at the door with his sword raised and the scales in his hands. He weighs what you say, measures what you keep, observes what you allow to enter. And when he sees a breach, he doesn't make poetry. He cuts. Today you will learn to close what is open, with simple, concrete, and repeatable gestures. Error 1. The mouth that prophecies fall. Scene. You are at the supper table, someone sets off fireworks, and you utter without realizing, 2026 will be difficult. The way it is, it can't work out. I always start and stop. It might seem like prudence, but spiritually, this turns into a contract. Miguel warns you. The mouth not only describes, it directs. Whoever prophesies defeat prepares the ground for defeat, invisible consequence. When you repeat, it won't work out, you give fear a throne inside your mind, and your mind, tired, begins to look for proof to confirm the sentence. You start to see threat where there was opportunity. You delay decisions, postpone steps, protect yourself too much, and call that being realistic. But Miguel shows you. Realism without faith turns into a prison, and every spiritual prison has a jailer, the word you feed. Practical gesture, 7 days, no drama. Do a complaint fast. For 7 days, every time you are about to say it won't work out, you exchange it for a concrete phrase of faith. I will take a step today. God opens a way where I don't see. I will learn what I need to learn. If a complaint escapes, don't blame yourself. Just restart in the same minute. This gesture trains your mouth to become a bridge again, not a wall. Error 2. The heart with stones. Scene. The message arrives on your cell phone at 23:58. It's the name of that person who hurt you, or someone in the room says what they always say, and you feel your chest harden. You smile on the outside, but inside you think, I will never forgive. And you cross the threshold carrying that. Miguel says, a heart with stones does not receive seeds. It only accumulates weight. Invisible consequence. Resentment is not just sadness, it is a drainage portal. It steals sleep, steals energy, steals clarity. You try to prosper with a locked soul, and all healthy prosperity needs flow, peace, direction, courage. When the heart is closed, you might even gain things, but you lose lightness. Miguel warns you, it's not the other person who holds you captive, it's the rope you hold. Practical gesture, quick and powerful. Write a name on a piece of paper. It's not to send, nor to humiliate yourself. It's to liberate. Write, I release you from my court. Below, write 3 lines. I do not approve of what happened. I choose not to carry this into my next year. I return this pain to God. Fold the paper and keep it for 7 days. On the 8th, tear it slowly, like someone cutting a tether. This is ritual, not theater. Error 3. Promise without altar. Scene. Noise countdown, everyone shouts. You raise your glass and promise, this year I change everything. But deep down you haven't decided anything. Promise without intention turns into a repeated lie. Miguel warns you, the spiritual world does not move by excitement. It moves by consecration. And consecration begins with first fruits. Invisible consequence. When you promise and don't deliver, your soul loses confidence in you. You start the year already tired because you carry promises as burdens. And the enemy loves this. People full of goals and empty of direction. Miguel shows you the difference between noise and altar. Noise disperses, altar concentrates. Whoever has no altar becomes a hostage to impulse. Practical gesture, 1 minute. In the first minute of the year, do 3 simple things. Breathe and say, God, I surrender this cycle to you. Choose 1 promise and transform it into a minimal action. I will walk 10 minutes 3 times a week, or I will sleep before 11 p.m. 5 days. Make a small reparation, send a message of peace, organize a corner of the house, return what you owe. This is first fruits, the first gesture with meaning. Error 4. Keys in the wrong hands. Scene. You talk about your plans before they are born. You tell what you will do, what you will buy, what you will build. And someone responds with laughter, irony, poison. You? That won't last. Or worse, someone says, Amen in front of you, but behind your back opens your life to gossip. Miguel warns you, not every ear is an altar, some ears are a hole. Invisible consequence. When you give access, you give away energy. There are people who drain with questions. There are people who sabotage with advice. There are people who expose what was sacred. And you feel it later. Discouragement without reason, confusion, a desire to give up. Miguel shows you the scene. It's like leaving the door unlocked and saying, it's not paranoia. It's spiritual prudence, keys only for those who care. Practical gesture, discernment in 30 seconds. Make a list of 3 names, who elevates you and calls you to the light, who is neutral but respects limits, who pulls you down, poisons you, exposes you. For group 3, close the door without a fight. Fewer details, less access, less presence. And before telling a plan, ask, does this person pay the price with me or just watch? Miguel doesn't ask you for harshness, he asks you for protection. Error 5. House with open doors. Now do you understand why this is the most dangerous? Because it is constant. Scene. You enter your house and the floor is full, the sink is overflowing, the TV is on with shouting, the bed has things thrown on it. And in a corner, an object of pain, a photo that breaks you, clothes from a memory, a gift from a toxic relationship. You look and say, I'll deal with it later. Miguel warns you, later is an altar for chaos. Invisible consequence, the home becomes a silent battlefield. You try to pray, but the environment pulls you down. You try to sleep, but your mind doesn't rest. You try to prosper, but the house reminds you of defeat. It's not superstition, it's psychology and spirituality together. What you see every day becomes a message for your system. Miguel shows you, the house is an extension of the soul, and a soul with clutter loses space for blessings. Practical gesture, war checklist. Choose a day and do a cleaning with intention. Remove 5 broken or unused things. Separate an object of pain and put it out of sight for 7 days. Do a shouting fast, 1 hour a day without screens, without news, without arguments. Open the window and say softly, my home is a place of peace. It's not magic, it's alignment. You close doors from the inside and outside. If you think this first error is just talk, observe your body. The negative mouth leaves the chest tight, the shoulders heavy, sleep light. You lie down and your mind continues arguing with the future, and then you wake up tired even before the day begins. Miguel warns you, many diseases are born from a constant internal climate. It's not that faith cures everything like magic, it's that faith changes the climate, and the climate changes the path. When you change the sentence, you change the direction. A sign that your mouth is prophesying fall is when you use prudence as an excuse to give up. You say, "I won't even try, so I don't get frustrated." But behind that, there is fear of exposure, fear of failing, fear of being judged. And fear feeds on repeated phrases. Miguel doesn't tell you to be arrogant, he tells you to be firm. Firmness is saying, "I may not control everything, but I control my step." In the second error, there is a detail that many people confuse. To forgive is not to reopen the door. To forgive is to remove the poison from your blood. You can release someone and at the same time maintain distance, maintain limits, maintain self-respect. Miguel is a prince and warrior. He knows the value of a frontier. So if your heart has stones, don't pressure yourself to feel love out of nowhere. Just decide not to carry the weight into the new year. Do a simple test. Think of the person who hurt you. If, just by remembering, you lose peace, you are still trapped. And imprisonment does not combine with prosperity. Prosperity is movement, clear ideas, firm steps, available energy. Therefore, Miguel warns you with mercy. Forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself. It's you saying, "I will no longer pay for something that has already happened." When you decide this, the invisible reorganizes itself. In the third error, Miguel often shows a sign. Many promises, little constancy. You start strong and stop in the first week, and then you accuse yourself. Diminish yourself, return to negativity, and the cycle closes. Therefore, the altar is not just a physical place, it is a minimal discipline that reminds you who governs you. If you do not consecrate the beginning consumes you. If you do not choose a focus, life chooses for you. If you have never done first fruits, start small. On the first, before touching your cell phone, make the first sentence be light. Before opening social media, open your heart. Before running after the world, give a minute to God. Miguel loves this because it is simple and non-negotiable, and it is exactly this simplicity that breaks the spirit of confusion. When you do first fruits, you are not buying a blessing, you are aligning priority. The fourth error, giving keys to the wrong people, has a symptom. You feel exposed. You tell something and hours later you regret it. You feel you gave too much, opened too much, explained too much. Miguel warns you, not everyone deserves backstage access. There are people who only know how to use information as a weapon, and you don't need to hate anyone to protect yourself. Protection is self-love with discernment. Here's a practical rule for the whole year. Don't tell a plan in the seed stage. A plant is not shown, a plant is watered. Wait for the plan to become a sprout, an action done, a stage completed. Then, you share with those who add value. Miguel teaches you this with the image of keys. What is sacred does not become a debate. Those who question your vision before you start generally will not celebrate when you finish. In the fifth error, the house, there is a modern lie. I don't have time. But you have time for what drains you. You have time for scrolling, for anxiety, for arguments, for accumulated clutter. Miguel warns you, the time you don't invest in peace, you pay in tiredness. A heavy house is not just aesthetic, it is atmosphere. And atmosphere defines mood, mood defines decision, decision defines destiny. Therefore, this error is silent and devastating. If you want a clear sign, how do you feel when you step into your house? If you feel relief, your home is protecting you. If you feel tension, your home is sucking you dry, and this is not your fault, it's a diagnosis. Miguel calls you to a simple spiritual reform. Start with what is visible. Trash out, clothes folded, corner clean. The visible opens the way for the invisible, and when the invisible changes, the body thanks you. Now, so as not to fall into repetition, I will give you a turn of the year sequence, like a track. 30 minutes before midnight. Turn off a noise, even if only for 5 minutes. 10 minutes before. Choose a phrase of faith to cross the threshold. 1 minute before. Breathe and give thanks for having survived the year. At minute 0, deliver first fruits and declare, I do not enter with stone, nor with sentence, nor with breach. This is simple and strong. Miguel honors this type of practical courage, and if you are alone at the turn of the year, even better to do it deeply. You don't need an audience, you need truth. Miguel works in secret. He sees you when no one sees you. He strengthens you when no one applauds. So if you don't have fireworks and a party, make silence an altar, a candle, a glass of water, a short prayer, a piece of paper with the 5 errors. And the threshold becomes healing. If you are with family and the environment is heavy, do it internally. You don't need to argue with anyone. The most decisive battle is internal. Miguel teaches you sometimes the greatest miracle is you not reacting in the old way. You hear a provocation and choose peace. You feel like complaining and choose gratitude. You remember the wound and choose to release. This is a war won without noise, and heaven recognizes this type of victory. Let's put each error into a quick question, for you to locate yourself. Mouth, do I repeat phrases that diminish me? Heart, do I cross the year with active resentment? Altar, do I make promises without minimal discipline? Keys, do I trust my seeds to any ear? House, do I normalize chaos and clutter? If you answered yes to one, you already know where to start. Miguel likes a clear beginning. A clear beginning turns into a clear path. Now a point about health and prosperity that no one talks about honestly. Prosperity is not just money, it is energy to work, courage to try, a mind to decide, peace to sleep, a relationship to sustain. And health is not just the absence of disease, it is internal balance. When you cut negativity, resentment, noise, access and breaches, you are cutting sources of invisible stress, and the body responds. Miguel warns you because he wants a whole life, not crumbs. You might be saying, but I've tried to change and couldn't. Then listen to this with kindness. You tried big and failed small. Now you will try small and win big. A complaint fast is small. The forgiveness paper is small. A minute of first fruits is small. A list of limits is small. 5 things out of the house is small. But small repeated gestures turn into a wall. Miguel builds walls like this, 1 brick a day. There is also a hidden error behind the 5. The error of thinking that change is emotion. It is not. Change is method, and Miguel's method is simple. Clarity, decision, repetition. That's why he gives you collectible names, practical gestures, and an order. You don't need to feel courage to act. You act and courage grows. You don't need to feel forgiveness to release. You release and peace appears. This is how heaven educates the soul. Now let me show you a micro-climax that holds retention. The turn of the year is a portal, yes, but the portal begins before. The new year already begins when you decide to stop treating yourself as an enemy. When you stop cursing yourself. When you stop repeating always and never. When you stop carrying stones. When you stop promising by impulse. When you stop giving keys to those who don't respect. When you stop sleeping in an environment that makes you sick. The portal is decision, not fireworks. And here's a micro scene of the 5th error that is very real. You open the bedroom door and see that pile of things. You think, later. And you lie down with your cell phone in hand, scrolling through videos late into the night. The next day, you wake up without strength, without spirit, without will. You call that laziness. Miguel calls it desgaste. The enemy loves a house without order, because a house without order turns into a mind without order, and a mind without order turns into a life without direction. So do the following. Choose a room to be your minimal sanctuary. It doesn't have to be the whole house, it can be a corner. A place where you don't argue, don't complain, don't carry weight. A place of silence, of prayer, of breathing. Miguel loves this because you create territory. Protected territory becomes a base becomes stability, and stability calls for prosperity, because prosperity likes firm ground. If you wish, use the image of Miguel with the sword to help you. Every time a negative phrase comes up, imagine the blade cutting the phrase before it comes out. Every time a resentment returns, imagine the blade cutting the memory and closing the wound. Every time you are about to promise by impulse, imagine the blade pointing to the altar and saying, only one promise, with action. Every time someone asks for too much access, imagine the blade at the door, up to here. And when you look at the house, imagine Miguel pointing to the window, open, clean, breathe. Image is a tool. A tool becomes a habit. Now I will give you a seal for the end, as the validated does. If you do only one thing today, do this. Protect minute zero. The enemy tries to steal the first minute with shouting, alcohol, arguments, anxiety, comparison. Miguel tries to consecrate the first minute with silence, gratitude, decision, first fruits. The first minute defines the climate of the first day. The first day defines the climate of the first week. And the first week becomes a prophecy for the month. Protect the beginning, and the rest will follow. And if your heart is too heavy for all this, do something even simpler. Just say, São Miguel, help me, without embellishment. 3 words. And then, make the first practical gesture possible. Drink water, breathe, arrange a chair, turn off a light, ask for forgiveness, silence a complaint. Heaven responds to sincerity. Miguel does not demand performance, he demands truth. Truth opens the right door. I want you to notice one thing. These 5 errors seem spiritual, but they have an effect on practical life. Negativity makes you lose an interview, lose a client, lose an opportunity because you enter without presence. Resentment makes you sick because you live in alert. Empty promises make you give up and feel incapable. Wrong access makes you manipulated, lose focus, spend energy where you shouldn't. And a house with breaches robs you of rest. Miguel doesn't warn you to scare you, he warns you to give you back governance. And here is the concrete promise. If you honestly cut one of these errors in the next 7 days, you will feel a real change. Not because the world will become perfect, but because your axis shifts. You think better, you sleep better, you decide better, and when you decide better, you reap better. Miguel works like this. He doesn't change the calendar, he changes your center, and the governing center changes everything else. Therefore, do not treat this message as beautiful. Treat it as instruction. The enemy wants you to listen and forget. Miguel wants you to listen and practice. Choose one error, one gesture, 7 days. And then come back here and say, I felt a difference. Because when you witness, you strengthen someone who is in the dark. And Miguel rejoices when one soul becomes a lighthouse for another. Now I want you to see how these 5 errors hide in small phrases. I don't deserve it. I already tried. God doesn't look at me. I'll just leave it for later. So-and-so knows everything about my life. Miguel hears these phrases like an alarm, because in the invisible they function as a password. And whoever lives giving passwords, lives opening doors. Perhaps you are thinking, but I am a person of faith, and I believe you. But faith is not just belief, it is practice. Miguel does not condemn you, he calls you to the place of governance. He wants you to stop crossing years on autopilot, repeating patterns as if it were destiny. You are not a hostage to a cycle. A cycle is cut with decision, with gesture, with repetition. Notice the order. Mouth, heart, altar, keys, house. It's a path. The mouth creates the climate. The heart decides what enters. The altar gives direction. The keys protect what is sacred. The house sustains or sabotages. When you organize in this order, health and prosperity cease to be luck and become a consequence. This is how Miguel works, aligning parts so that peace is stable. Let's deepen the first error with another scene. You wake up on the first and look at your balance, look at the scales, look in the mirror, and the first phrase that comes out is, I'm finished. Miguel warns you, the first thought of the day is like the first brick of a house. If the first brick is defeat, the rest becomes repair. Replace the first brick with truth. I am alive. I have a step. God sustains me. It's simple, but it changes the axis. In the second error, imagine someone asking you for forgiveness, and you say it's okay, but your body betrays you. Stiff shoulders, clenched jaw, cold silence. That is stone. Miguel shows you that forgiveness is not a feeling, it is direction. You may not feel anything today, but you can choose not to carry the weight. And here's the detail that the validated uses. Not forgiving is staying trapped in the scene. To forgive is to leave the stage and close the curtain. In the third error, empty promises, there is a test. When the excitement ends, and it always ends, what remains? If only tiredness remains, it was noise. If minimal discipline remains, it was an altar. Miguel invites you to a simple altar. A glass of water next to the bed and a short prayer before sleeping. 3 phrases. Thank you for the day. Forgive my failures. Guide my steps tomorrow. Whoever sustains a small altar sustains great change. In the 4th era, keys in the wrong hands, there is a common scene. You share a dream and instead of hearing "let's build," you hear, "but what if it goes wrong?" And you feel the flame extinguish. Miguel tells you don't argue with those who extinguish, don't explain, don't beg for approval, just protect. God gave you vision to walk, not to convince an audience. What is a seed needs soil, not a stage. In the 5th era, a house with open doors, there is a temptation to normalize chaos. You say, my house is just like that. But Miguel shows another scene. When you enter a temple, the environment changes you. Your home can also change you. And you don't need perfection, you need intention. The difference between a living house and a heavy house is a small repeated decision. 1 drawer a day, 1 corner a night, 1 less screen, 1 more prayer. Now I want you to do a live test right where you are. Place your hand on your chest for 3 seconds and ask, which of these 5 errors is most active in me today? Don't overthink it. The first one that comes is usually the one that is draining the most. Miguel does not work with confusion. He works with clarity. Clarity is mercy. It shows where to cut. If it's the mouth, start with the complaint fast. If it's the heart, start with the forgiveness paper. If it's an empty promise, start with the minute of first fruits. If it's access, start with the limit. If it's the house, start with 5 things out. See? There is always a first step. And when you take the first step, you change the spiritual field. Heaven respects sincere decision, and here enters the most visceral part of Miguel's authority. Imagine the invisible as a room. You are in the center. Each error is a door. Miguel enters not with a speech but with a sword. He touches the blade to the lock of negativity and says, silence the sentence. He touches the blade to the lock of resentment and says, release the prisoner. He touches the blade to the lock of noise and says, raise an altar. He touches the blade to the lock of the keys and says, protect the seed. He touches the blade to the lock of the house and says, purify the home. This is an event. Cut, decision, closing. Perhaps you are afraid to do this and seem strange. But what is stranger? Taking care of the body and forgetting the soul. You have seen how a small virus brings down an entire body. In the invisible, small breaches do the same. Miguel is teaching you something mature. Spiritual warfare is not panic, it is hygiene. Just as you wash your hands, you wash your mouth. Just as you make your bed, you arrange your heart. Just as you lock the door, you lock access. Now I want to give you a closing right to cross the turn of the year with authority, without spectacle. Take a piece of paper and write, I cut the cycle of my mouth. I cut the cycle of my heart. I cut the cycle of my home. Fold this paper and keep it in your wallet or phone case for 7 days. Every time you're about to fall into the old pattern, touch the paper. It is a physical reminder for a spiritual decision, and if you want to make it stronger, do the fire rite with prudence. Write, in a few words, what you are releasing. Complaint, resentment, noise, access, clutter. Tear it into 5 pieces and discard it with intention, as if saying, this does not define me. It is not superstition, it is a symbol. The brain understands symbols, the soul understands intention, and the invisible responds to positioning. Now say a short prayer with me, the way Miguel likes it, direct, without embellishment. So Miguel, place your sword in my mouth, cut the sentence of defeat, place your sword in my heart. Cut the rancor that traps me, place your sword on my altar. Cut the noise and ignite reverence, place your sword on my keys. Cut undue accesses, place your sword in my home. Cut every breach and establish peace. Amen. Breathe. Notice how, when the prayer is specific, the mind focuses, and when the mind focuses, the body relaxes. This is why the validated works. It delivers collectible and gesture. Today you have both. Now one thing is missing, commitment. Without commitment, even the best word turns into entertainment. And Miguel did not bring you here for entertainment. He brought you for transformation. When the old returns, repeat. Threshold is choice. I choose light today. I close doors and move on. So I make you a final invitation, simple and public. In the comments, write, I cut an error today. And if you have the courage, write which one: mouth, heart, altar, keys, or house. When you name it, you assume governance, and when you assume governance, you close a door. May this new cycle be of health, prosperity, and peace, not by luck, but by decision. Miguel warns you and also guards you.